Welcome to This Explainer. Look, if you're navigating your late teens or early 20s right now, you absolutely know that reality can feel, well, completely overwhelming. You're constantly bombarded with information, existential choices, and this massive pressure to just figure out who you are. Sometimes it honestly feels like we were dropped into this chaotic reality without an instruction manual. But what if I told you that a group of really profound thinkers actually wrote one? Over 2,000 years ago? Today, we're taking a deep dive into an ancient text called the Vibhanga Prakarana. It is, quite literally, a user manual for reality, designed to break down the ultimate matrix of the mind and show you exactly how your own psychological software is running behind the scenes. Here's our roadmap for hacking reality today. First, the synthetical bridge. Second, aggregates on a double-decker. Third, the chain of causality. Fourth, the math of enlightenment. And finally, the heart of doctrine. Section 1. The synthetically bridge, merging two worlds. Okay, let's dive into this. To really get the Vibhanga, you've got to know exactly where it sits in history. It's the second of 7 major treatises in this massive collection of Buddhist philosophy known as the Abhidhamma Pitaka. But this specific text serves a very unique purpose. It acts as a structural bridge connecting two wildly different ways of viewing the world. On one side, we've got the Sutta style of teaching. This is conversational, it's descriptive, and it's highly practical. Imagine listening to a truly engaging TED Talk about human suffering, happiness, and ethics. It's designed for you, the listener, to easily grasp. On the other side, we have the Abhidhamma style. Now, this is hyper-analytical, metaphysical, and incredibly dense. If the Sutta is the beautiful, user-friendly interface of your favorite app on your phone, the Abhidhamma is the raw, actually, scratch that, it's the unfiltered binary source code running in the background. The pure genius of the Vibhanga is that it brings these two worlds together. The very word Vibhanga translates roughly to exposition, classification, or analysis. It deliberately takes those broad, conversational, big-picture ideas and runs them through a relentless, hyper-analytical filter. It systematically synthesizes these concepts by capping almost every single chapter with a Panyabuchika, which is a highly structured question and answer format. Imagine a rigorous interrogation process. Is this specific mental state good, bad, or neutral? Does it arise with joy, or does it arise with indifference? It systematically asks every possible permutation of a question to leave absolutely zero room for confusion or vagueness. It's the ultimate synthetical bridge, making sure you understand the concept inside and out. Section 2. Aggregates on a double-decker, deconstructing the self. So, what's the very first thing this highly analytical text decides to deconstruct? You. It goes right after the illusion of the self. The ancient text uses a very famous, groundbreaking simile to explain this. It reads, "When all constituent parts are there, the designation cart is used. Just so, where the 5 groups exist, a living being do we speak of." Over 2 millennia ago, this was a revolutionary reductionist view. Basically, a cart is just wheels, an axle, and some wood. Take those individual pieces away, and there's no overarching cart left. You are exactly the same. But, since none of us are driving ancient wooden carts down the highway anymore, we need a better analogy for the modern world to really make this click. And this brilliantly illustrates the concept. Think of yourself as a classic British double-decker bus. According to the Vibhanga, you're made up of 5 aggregates, the 5 moving parts of your psychological vehicle. First up is corporality. That's your physical body, the actual red metal chassis of the bus taking up physical space. Second is feeling. This is the raw sensory data of pleasure or pain you experience, kind of like the physical comfort or discomfort of the passengers bouncing around on board. Third is perception. This is your brain's ability to recognize and categorize things, like reading the route map and instantly knowing a stop sign from a street lamp. Fourth is mental formations. This one is absolutely crucial. These are your volitions and choices. It's the engine's drive and the driver turning the steering wheel left instead of right. It's your karma in action. And finally, there's consciousness. Now, this isn't your personality. It's just the pure, basic awareness that the journey is even happening at all. The profound takeaway here is that there is no magical, permanent busness floating around inside. There's no ghost in the machine. It's just these 5 temporary aggregates working together in real time. That is literally all you are. Section 3. The chain of causality, the operating system. So once you realize you're just a collection of parts moving through space, the next logical question hits you. What's actually driving the bus? What are the underlying rules of the road? Well, this brings us to the core of the manual, which introduces the operating system of reality itself.
It's based on a foundational logic called Adepan Payata. It's perfectly summed up in this formula. When this is present, that is present. From the arising of this, that arises. It sounds deceptively simple, right? But it carries massive philosophical weight. It means absolutely nothing in the universe happens in a vacuum. Everything is conditionally related. If you get a stressful notification on your phone, a spike of anxiety arises in your chest. Cause and effect are absolute.
This undeniable principle creates an unbreakable sequential chain of existence known in Buddhist philosophy as dependent origination. Let's trace this timeline slowly, because this right here is the core loop of human suffering. Moment 1 starts with ignorance, or avijja. Now, this isn't a lack of IQ, it's a fundamental misunderstanding of reality, believing that you are a permanent self. Because you don't understand reality, you inevitably move to moment 2, craving, or tanha. You thirst for things, status, relationships, objects, believing they're going to permanently fill the void. That craving quickly hardens like concrete into moment 3, clinging, or upadana. You desperately grip onto your identity and your desires. This clinging provides the raw fuel for moment 4, becoming and rebirth. This is the constant, exhausting recreation of your ego day after day. And that ultimately leads, inevitably, to moment 5, aging and death, suffering, loss, and decay. It's an endless, repeating loop. This is the system, and unless you understand this underlying code, you're completely trapped inside it.
Section 4. The Math of Enlightenment, the Ultimate Hack.
Okay, so if we're trapped in a loop of suffering, driven by relentless cause and effect, how on earth do we beat the system? How do we hack the code? The answer lies in the number 27. Just sit with that for a second. This isn't just a random figure. It represents the exact mathematical precision of enlightenment, hidden perfectly within the middle chapters of this 2,000-year-old manual. So, the crucial point is that in this philosophy, there are exactly 37 factors of enlightenment, essentially the cognitive tools you need to break the cycle of suffering. Chapters 7 through 11 of the Vibhanga ingeniously pack 27 of these crucial factors into one relentless practical sequence. You don't just read about them, you apply them. You get the 4 foundations of mindfulness, which means actually paying rigorous attention to your body and thoughts in real time. You add the 4 right efforts, actively filtering out toxic mental states and cultivating healthy ones. You add the 4 bases of spiritual power to develop unshakable concentration. You combine that with the 7 factors of enlightenment to tune your energy and tranquility. And all of this funnels directly into the famous Noble Eightfold Path, which acts as your master strategy for living. Do the math. 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 7 plus 8 equals exactly 27. It's a beautifully structured, step-by-step mathematical formula designed to completely rewrite your own psychological software.
Section 5. The Heart of Doctrine, the Full Blueprint.
Let's zoom out and see how this builds, because when you look at the Vibhanga as a whole, its grand 18-chapter structure reveals flawless logic. It builds so systematically. Chapters 1 through 6 lay down the fundamental classifications, defining the parts of your bus, the senses, the elements, and the causal chain we just talked about. Once that foundation is set in stone, chapters 7 through 14 give you the practice and the factors of enlightenment, the actual cognitive tools and meditations to start hacking the system. Finally, chapters 15 through 18 deal with higher knowledge, culminating in an ultimate, all-encompassing synthesis of everything you've just learned.
And that brings us to the grand finale, chapter 18, titled the Dhammahadaya Vibhanga, which translates to the analysis of the heart of the doctrine. If the previous 17 chapters were the individual, meticulously carved pieces of a massive puzzle, chapter 18 is where they snap those final pieces together. This is the ultimate stress test. Imagine ancient scholars rigorously cross-referencing every single mental state against every possible aggregate, base, and truth. They test the system from every conceivable angle, trying to break their own philosophy, just to prove to you, the reader, that it is absolutely bug-free and perfectly consistent. It is the definitive Q&A matrix. Now, what's really interesting here is that after going through all this intense analysis, deconstructing the ego, and tracing the code of the universe, an ultimate question forces its way to the surface. If the Vibhanga is right, and you are just the temporary parts of a double-decker bus completely driven by an endless, mechanical chain of cause and effect, then who is actually enjoying the ride? Take that question with you today. Thank you for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning your reality.